How we doing, Raven fans, Oriole fans, and thank you very much for joining us here for the Ravori Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms here. 100, 100 YouTube subscribers as well, almost at 1,000 on X. So thank you very much to all of you for participating in this. And tonight we're going to have our Ravori Sports Conversation as well. 2026 MLB preseason predictions video is coming shortly, so definitely check that out as well. Genesis Notary Services, if you know, in Winchester, Virginia as well. So definitely check out all of our notary services in the Winchester, VA area. So absolutely go ahead, check that out, and sign up at all of our platforms as well. We are very happy to service all of you in the Winchester area. See Charles Harris. We are Legal Shield. Legal Shield is a great resource for you as far as businesses and everything going. Definitely, especially if you're a young person and you have a will for kids or things like that, protect your state. Legal Shield is a great resource for you. And look who's back. The man himself. That's so apropos, the tagline he used, Angry Cleveland Fan. Tonight, welcome back to our brotherhood, Evan Brogdon as well. So we got Baltimore, we got Pittsburgh, and now we got Cleveland back here as well. We're going to interview and have a little conversation with Evan tonight. How are you doing today, good sir?
Well, first, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to do this. We've been talking about it for a while, so to finally put something together and do so, I'm honored to be here. But I'm doing great, and I'm excited to today's conversation.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for coming in, and we're going to talk a little bit here. Let's start where we were starting at pre-show, right? You immediately went to the NBA and the trade that we just had before the deadline here. James Harden now coming to Cleveland as well. I think there's another part to this trade as well. James Harden going out, Darius Garland leaving. I was floored. I could not believe that they wanted James Harden, that Donovan Mitchell wanted James Harden on this. I almost don't believe this. Like that they're just crazy to take away. Darius Garland to me reminds me a lot of Allen Iverson. So what do you think about this?
So, like we talked before we started, I told you I wasn't a fan of it. There's a lot to it. Um, it's come out from Rich Paul doing a podcast with Max Kellerman talking about the fact that he had already told Darius that unless you're healthy, unless you guys are first in the East, that this is your last year in Cleveland, just because of the way that it's been going. Um, as far as the trade itself, I'm not a fan of it for multiple reasons that we could dive into. Um, I do think that it there. So I don't like it because I wanted Darius here more than I wanted James Harden. I think James Harden can help us, but there are other issues that whether we had Garland or now have Harden, to me they're not going to change. I don't see James Harden playing defense in the playoffs. I I, I worry if he gets upset because Donovan Mitchell has a thing to play hero ball. And that's where my real issue is because, like I said before, when we were talking, that it's not that I'm not a fan of Donovan Mitchell. I just don't think he was the right fit for Cleveland, and it's not a lot of Cleveland sports fans, the radio writers, TV, however you want to spin it, that don't talk about the fact that Donovan Mitchell had all the pieces around him in Utah with Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and a bunch of beautiful role players that were doing great things. They were number one in the West, what, 2 3 years in a row, and he didn't do anything. And it seemed like he was a great player, a great scorer, but the more they wanted him to be the ball handler, the more they wanted him to be the the guy where the offense runs through them, it didn't work. And then you saw guys like Mike Conley go. Then you heard about the whole beef with Rudy Gobert before COVID. And then, oh, it fractured the locker room, and Donovan Mitchell is unhappy because he didn't take it serious. But you were the same guy that was kicking it with him overseas, but we don't talk about that. So there are those issues. And then you bring a guy in here when you have a rookie, Evan Mobley, you have a young Darius Garland, you had just gotten JA to help the Clippers, help the Nets get James Harden, and he's averaging a double-double, and you bring him in here, and everybody else's numbers have steadily declined since. Yes, Darius Garland has had health issues, and that's the major reason why they got rid of him, because if you can't depend on him now, and in the last 3 years he's been hurt, on top of the fact that you want Donovan Mitchell to resign, you got to do something.
So you
And
bring in James Harden?
the only other thing that they were talking about.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing: with all of his injuries, who else you gonna trade for? With his injuries, who else were we gonna trade for? So it looked like two players that didn't have high value that made it work. The money matched, and Cleveland had to give up a second round pick. Makes sense.
I
That's
don't know
really what I can say about it. Because the
what's
only other
going
player that
on
they
in
were
the
talking about that Cleveland in the NBA.
Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know what's going
No.
on in the
You were
NBA.
cut
Like
out.
Trey Young, I'm sorry. Trey Young almost gets traded away for like nothing. Like Trey Young, I think, is a good player. They can't stand him. He's a good player. Oh, but we can't use him. This and that is wrong with him, et cetera, et cetera. But you can put up with Kawhi Leonard's foolishness for 15 years. Like, I don't get, like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't get it in some cases, which you're seeing. Anthony Davis, he's this valued player. You trade him for Luka Doncic, which is ridiculous, really ridiculous. But, Kyrie Irving has no value. I'm kind of just lost at like what guys are actually watching on the court. Like, I'm just a little.
Can I post something to you and see your thoughts on it? So I want to pose this question to you. When LeBron came in the league, the players had no power, correct? As far as trades, as far as free agency, you really didn't see superstar guys move. LeBron makes the move to Miami, and he all of a sudden, all these other players are starting to get the same empowerment. Well, now LeBron is at the end of his run. There's no other LeBrons in the league, and now with stress management, player management, so that guys can save their bodies for the playoffs, the owners are taking it back. I think that Luka trade that you mentioned for Anthony Davis wasn't a Luka trade. It wasn't a Luka requested it and kept it on the low. I think that was the NBA trying to say the Lakers, because once LeBron left, who wanted to go to the Lakers? But with all that being said, do you think it's the owners now taking back the power, and as far as free agency goes and as far as trades go?
I've heard that what you said. Like they wanted to help the Lakers because the Lakers seem to get these trades, and I'm a Lakers guy. The Lakers seem to get these trades out of the blue a couple times. The Chris Paul thing years ago, they kind of avoided it, but like, where was it even coming from? So I think that's it. I think what's going on in Dallas is they want to move the team to Las Vegas. They're trying to beat the expansion. I think that's coming. They want the team in Las Vegas, and if Doncic is there, you can't trade a really good. They're going to have a really good team, and they don't want a really good team. You can't move a really good team, so they want to move the team to Las Vegas. They want to hurry up and do it before the expansion comes, and you got to get Doncic out of there. And I think that's what that was. I don't believe for a second Nico Harrison is that stupid. He wouldn't be that crazy. Like, even if you thought,
well, he is the one that botched Curry.
I don't buy that he's,
you know about
even if he thought that, like you said, you put it up for bid around the league. You don't just talk to the Lakers and nobody else. You know, even if I thought that, I wouldn't. I'm assessing the value. So if I'm thinking that I'm nobody podcaster from Baltimore, why wouldn't he know that and that? So I kind of couldn't understand it. It's just seeing this in the league a lot, like just weird stuff and player movement is going on. And by the way, teams that aren't doing it are the ones winning. San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Houston, even though they brought in, I mean, their whole team basically, except for Durant, is young players, draft picks. So why all these teams are doing this weird stuff, those teams are actually winning. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree, but again, I think it has to go. At least for me, I think it goes back to the owners, because we had talked about on our open mic show where the rumor is that now that I can't think of his name right now. After he sold the team, she's from Vegas. What is she? The new owner. What is she known for? Casinos and everything in Vegas. And because Dallas declined her bid to bring a casino there, what else is gonna happen? I'm gonna move this team. Now, with that being said, I don't know if they could do that with Cooper Flag in Dallas now, because Cooper Flag is showing out, and he's showing that I'm one of these guys. Can they move him, move a team with him and only him to Vegas? That's the next
Yes.
question.
Because he just got there. They kind of did the same thing when
so?
Durant came in the league. So I think that'll be easier to swallow. Doncic was a guy who actually took him to the finals, was there for years, etc. So it's going to be harder to do. Flag, I think you could probably get away with it if you do it in the next year or two. Real quick, you mentioned LeBron. Does he finish as a Cavalier, you think? Is that what he wants, you think?
I think so. Is that what I want, or is that what I think is gonna happen?
Do you think is that's what LeBron wants, to finish as a Cav?
Yes, I never thought that LeBron was gonna finish as a Laker or as a Heater. I never thought that, because LeBron is from Akron. That's what, 30, 45 minutes down the road. Always came up to Cleveland for Browns games, Cavs games. Pretty much grew up in the city when he wasn't in Akron. So, and every time he's come back, like when uh, most people don't remember, right before the year, his final year in Miami, they do a Drunas Ilgauskas uh retirement thing, and show love and retire his jersey. That was LeBron's homeboy from the minute he got in the league. Him and Z are still close. And they did it and had Z ask Bron to come because of their friendship. And they used that to have a meeting so that they could talk and mend things. People think that they mended it over in the offseason when he talked to Dan Gilbert. They had already started talking the year before. So there's that. Then on top of that, Bronny has always been loved. So is Bryce. They've always been loved because they've been on the sideline when LeBron was in year 2, year 3, right by the bench. They've been there the whole time. No matter the stuff that you may know about LeBron's family, the stuff that's made the news, as far as Cleveland goes, LeBron's family is set. They get treated very well here. So this has always been home for them. Um, I think that whether we had Garland or not, I do think he comes back. He wanted to come back. But now that you have Harden, Mitchell, and there was a lot of reports about Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and Giannis Antetokounmpo 3-team trade that was possible. They just couldn't find a third party for JA because other teams wanted to see if they could really get Giannis. You're telling me LeBron wouldn't come back, have a farewell tour, and a chance at a championship in his hometown? That erases the fact that most people don't give him credit for that bubble title, even though if Miami won it, they'd have gave Miami the credit.
I count it. That's the Lakers winning.
So
it.
yeah,
So
I do think.
They're gonna have to learn, like Ric Flair said, learn to love it. That's a title. I take it. Should LeBron retire?
Absolutely.
Can
this
Bronny
year.
is Bronny any is Bronny any good? Will he ever be any good?
I think okay. So first, do I think LeBron should retire? No, because he's averaging around 24, 6 and 6 right now, and at his peak, what was he averaging? 28, 8 and 9. So it's not like that. There's a major fall off, and especially if he can go to a place where he doesn't have to carry everything, and that's what he's had to do in LA until he got Luca. And if we being honest, he's really the only player that Luca got that you can depend on night in and night out. So to me, no, because I could give you a couple teams. If LeBron were to take the vet minimum because of his age, that's pretty much what he can sign. You can see LeBron playing another 3 years. I see San Antonio because he finally gets to teach Wemby how to win. They got all the other young pieces, and they got a lot of players that they can move to go get other vets and other pieces that they need if they were to bring in LeBron. You could talk about Philly. If Joel Embiid can show that he's healthy, you got him, you got Paul George, you got two vets, you got Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. I would have said the Thunder if they hadn't won it already, but they already won. And then again, Golden State. Golden State has the pieces to go get a third guy and move a Jimmy Butler or a Draymond Green, and you put LeBron and Steph together. I think that works. It's not something I want, but those are just things. Those are real possibilities. And then
Golden
to answer
State
the
is
other
all.
side of that,
Don't get me started on Golden State. It's been
you
over.
think
I
so?
think Steve Kerr is out the door because he knows it's over. Curry, I think, keeps them respectable. There's nothing. There's nothing there in Golden State. There's no more there in Golden State. Jimmy Butler, and I love Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's always been one of my favorite players. I don't think. I mean, he's already hurt, not going to play any, but they're too old. They what Curry and Green, as great as they've been, they chased out the young guys. What's going on with Kuminga? They did the same thing with Jordan Poole. They did the same thing with Wiseman. They did the same thing. They run them out, and then it's now they're to the point where they're going, oh, they wanted it like this, where the wheels fell off, kind of like the Bulls, the end of the run. Michael didn't want young guys in there. He wanted to run them all out and make them start over when they leave. And that's why Kerr's leave. He's doing the same thing as Coach did, Phil Jackson. There's nothing there. I'm gone. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's fair. I'll give you that. I do agree with that. But those are just those options. Now, as far as Bronny goes and Bryce, I need people to start putting respect on Bronny's name because Bronny he wasn't in the top 10, top 20, 25 of recruits, but he was in the top 50. He was in the top 100. And if you go look at the statistics of the top 100 players that actually make the league, it's not a lot. But we all know we can all go down lists of guys that we know that were in that category of top 100 guys that deserve to make it. And then on top of that, he has a heart attack a month before the season starts and still plays the same year. No, we don't see people now outside of sports having that type of heart attack or cardiac arrest and continue to do what they love. Their life changes. So for him to fight back and to play says a lot. It says that he wants it. It's not just a thing for I'm here because my dad wanted me to do this. But in his game alone, I think the more time he has, whether it's with his father or somewhere else that's really willing to give him an opportunity, and that's where the real question is, I think Bronny can play in this league. He's already shown that he can play defense. He can shoot, go on a fast break. He doesn't need to be the next LeBron. We already got that. His dad is there's not gonna be another LeBron, just like it's not another Kobe or another Jordan, another Shaq. Those guys are 1-on-1. But I do think that he could play
All
in this
right.
league. And so I also think the same for his brother. That's it.
Bryce, I can kind of see it. I can. Bronny, role player, I think, as well. So let's move to more second generation player. Your Browns here. Shador. Todd Monken, our Ravens OC, with Lamar Jackson in the last few years. He's going now to Cleveland to take over the head job. I think he's taking it because he believes in Shador. kind of like what I've seen of Todd Monken. What is your impression of Shador as kind of an incomplete last season? Didn't play. I'm not thumbs up or thumbs down yet on Shador as far as an NFL player. I think it's still an incomplete. What have you seen, and what do you think he's going to look like going forward?
The Todd Monken hire was because of the quarterback play, not the offensive side of the ball. Let's stop that debate right now. It was because of the quarterback. Since the Browns have been back, they have had multiple picks of players, whether it be number one overall or in the fifth round at 155, 156 overall. None of them have planned out. They've all shown spurts. They've shown flashes. But when it comes to Shador, I think he's different from the rest because Baker needed a chip on his shoulder. Um, Johnny Manziel just wanted to party. I think that Todd Monken and Shador will work well. I think the flashes that you saw from Shador can compare to the Tyler Shucks, even though I just saw in my draft where now he goes number two overall to the Browns and we don't make that trade, which I think is absolutely terrible sportsmanship by ESPN for putting that mock draft out there. Especially when all y'all did was make money off of Shador all year and talk about the Browns when there were other things to talk about. Um,
Oh, they wore him out. Don't watch Jason
ex-
Whitlock show. He wore him out.
exactly.
He
So then, to just speak on Shador's play, I go to training camp every year. I watch training camp every year. I suggest to all sports fans, especially football fans, if there is a way for you to go to your training camp, go. It's the best opportunity to see your favorite players, but also see what goes into a practice, what guys are working on, uh, to see what it goes into play calling and how they work on building these things up. But from what I saw from Shador, those passes were always different. Kind of like when we first got Watson. Now it didn't plan out the same as far as Watson with the injuries and all the other things, but just the zip on the ball, the placement of the ball, the command of the offense, the confidence that it takes to be a quarterback in this league. You saw all those things, and I think if you look back from his very first start or very first time to play was the second half versus your Baltimore Ravens. If Gage Larvin catches that pass in the end zone, we talking about a different game at that point because it's we're either tied or we take the lead at that point. And the defense was holding together.
I don't
Look
think
at the,
Shador is Bronny James by any stretch of the imagination. You could say when
mhm,
he was at Colorado, he was the best quarterback in college football. So
I agree.
I don't know where we're getting this stuff that he's not, he's not overly, he's not a Lamar Jackson like athlete. I'll give you that,
Hmm.
or the how, but he's certainly in the right situation. He could be a solid NFL quarterback. I mean, we just saw Sam Darnold win the whole thing. There's not that far away. I mean, in terms of athletically, we're about the same as Sam Darnold in terms of that. So
Hmm.
I'm not as well. What do fans want, Evan, as far as that goes? Do they want Shador as the quarterback? Are there Dylan Gabriel people? Are there Deshaun Watson people out there in Cleveland?
If you're a quarterback on the Browns, there's somebody that wants you to play. That's part of the issue with the fan base as Browns fans. I'm one of those uh, podcasters, as you'll say, that will say this: Browns fans are part of the problem. I'm part of the problem. I'm not afraid to say it. But to answer your question, there's people that want Gabriel. There's people that want Deshaun. There's people that want Shador. There's people that want um, Mac Jones. There's people that want Malik Willis. There's people that want us to trade everything that we got to go get Fernando Mendoza before we build the rest of the roster and fill the holes that we have. So it's a it's it's a lot. If you really listen to it, it's a lot of people that really want a little bit of everything. But majority of the fans right now are saying that he at least deserves the opportunity to go into camp to fight for the number one job and to see what he could do as the starter.
What happened with Jim Swartz? Exactly. That's not like the Jim Swartz that I remember as a Ravens coach I've seen all these years, for him to act like that, and Malkin usually doesn't act like that. So what the I mean, I know he felt slighted, obviously. Was he promised the job, you think, or he wasn't? That was I thought that was a bit extra on both sides.
So you kind of have to look back at the Titans game where Shador went off and we lost the game. That's when pretty much the fan base, or like whole fan base and the Cleveland media, were pretty much like, okay, yeah, it's time to fire him. He's had a great time here for Kevin Stefanski, but it's time to move on. It's just not working anymore. When that happened, the number one thing that was talked about was, outside of Jim Schwartz, who are you gonna get? We didn't think that Jim Harbaugh would be available. We didn't think that Mike Tomlin would step down, and we didn't think that Sean McDermott was going to get fired. Even though a lot of people were saying if he didn't win in the playoffs in the first round,
Possibility.
that right. But the thing was, everybody had Buffalo going to the Super Bowl. So with that, nobody thought he was going to be available. Who would have been next? LaFleur from Green Bay. They weren't going to fire him. They just made the playoffs. That's not the type of thing that they do over in that organization. So it became a question of Jim Schwartz or who. And then you go to the day that they fired Kevin Stefanski. About 3 to 4 days later, we have an Andrew Berry press conference, and then Jimmy Haslam, who I think needs to sit in the corner and tape his mouth shut, and then glue something else over the tape to keep his mouth shut even more. Um, Came out and said that Jim Schwartz is a great coach, and that we would love to keep him here, and that he's gonna be here. He's your second interview behind Todd Monken. And during the whole process, you hear um, Jim Schwartz had a great interview. Jim Schwartz did this. Jim Schwartz did that. But you also, if you're plugged in with the sports writers, the beat writers, there were some reports and rumblings that if he didn't get the job, he was gone. And you got him jumping through hoops. He interviewed at two other places. I think Baltimore was one of them. And you get to this point where Grant Udinski is out, um, Jesse Mentor is out, all these other coaches are gone, and all you hear is Jim Schwartz, Jim Schwartz, Jim Schwartz. And then the Shieldhouse interview happened, and when they interviewed Shieldhouse, it came out from a credible source that I'm not going to put their name out because the information that was given to me and to a few other people is not information to truly like, because of the way it played out. I'm not gonna put their name out there, but Chillhouse was Andrew Berry's guy. Jim Schwartz had the ear and the heart of Jimmy Haslam. Todd Monken was a guy in the middle. That's what the report was. When it came down to Shieldhouse and the other two, Shieldhouse did not have the Rolodex of offensive coordinators, assistant coaches, defensive coaches, special teams to build a full staff.
That's the experience, right?
And that was the number one thing that he wanted to do. So with that, then it became Munkin and Schwartz. Well, like I said, Jimmy Haslam being Jimmy Haslam, not knowing when to shut up. Jim Schwartz is a great coach. And because you led him along this whole way saying he's a great coach, he's a great guy, we love him in this building, he's been the most consistent thing here in the last 6 years, you pretty much built him up and then didn't talk to him about, okay, what if we do go with a young guy? What if we do go with somebody else as an offensive guy to pair with you? And then you don't call him, you don't talk to him to let him know. You, it came out it came out on social media before y'all called him in the office to tell the man that y'all was going with somebody else. He canceled his vacation to be in the building so he could be the head coach, and you didn't tell him. So that's how we got to where we are. And shout out to Todd
Goodness,
Monken for
man.
saying, and then shout out to Todd Monken because this is what really started to make me like Todd Monken. When we played the Browns, I didn't chip Jim Schwartz.
Oh,
I
that was
chipped
that
Miles
was that
Garrett.
was I put that on social media. That was intentional. That
It
was
was.
that wasn't an accident. He let him know, if you want to stay here, then you're not in charge. I'm in charge. And Swartz took it or
Yeah.
leave it. I don't. The whole Swartz thing was wild because Buffalo basically did the same thing. Joe Brady's already in the
Hmm.
building. It was no fuss, no muss. Josh Allen liked him. Offense was the strength of the team. Give it to Joe Brady if you're going to get rid of McDermott. So it could have been like that. If you like Jim Swartz so much, he was already there. You wouldn't even have had to, you might have had to bring in an Anthony Weaver or somebody else like, Rooney. But you had Jim Swartz already there. So, like, you cut his legs out from under him. So it's understandably upset. Because I've never seen him act like this. Never seen him be this upset or in general as well. Um, how did anybody else, though, stuck out for you with the Browns this year? I thought Junkins, I think, is a great running back
Hmm.
prospect. I think he was really good. You got to have to make some changes on the offensive line. Garrett, I think, is. I mean, he's
That
moving
guy.
maybe to the greatest, one of the great. I mean, maybe only Reggie White ahead of him at this point. As far as that goes, what would you, if there's one thing you would like to see, what would you like to see outside of the quarterback situation? Now that you got the head coach.
I don't have one. I have three. Three things. Use Dylan Sampson more. There are a lot of flashes with Dylan Sampson, and I felt like Dylan Sampson, along with Quinshawn, will give you the 1-2 punch that most offenses have when it comes to the running back room. Number two, along with fixing the offensive line, there are two guys on this team that should be back, maybe three. Joe Batonio, if he does not retire. Ethan Posich came here and did his thing. Even though he had an injury, if you can bring him back on a low deal, you bring him back and fix the relationship with Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller's play only failed when Jack Conklin went out and you moved DeJuan Jones to the left side. That's four. Move DeJuan Jones back to the right side. He didn't have as many injury issues playing on the right side, and that goes back to college because he did have an injury in college. But move DeJuan back to the right side. That's where he's most comfortable. He didn't want to move. You moved him anyway, and then you got rid of the guy who motivated him to get in shape by letting him go coach with his son. And then when his son got fired, guess what? You didn't bring the guy back, and your offensive line failed. So those are the things for me. Use Dylan Sampson more. Fix the offensive line. Um, and maybe a receiver. I'm not too high on this receiver class as far as a number one, but those are my key things as far as the Browns go on the offensive side of the ball.
I agree with you with the receiver class. From what I've seen, you got three good receivers. I think that's a maybe four. Denzel Boston, I kind of throw him in there, but Makai Lemon, I think, is really good as well.
If you can hear me, your audio is cut. So you were making the comment about the receivers. I'll go back. I'll set you back up for it. That I don't believe that deeply in the fact that there is a number one wide receiver right now. I also haven't watched that much tape on I don't believe that to be the case right now.
I agree with that. I think you could do better than a receiver group as well. If you're looking for a true number one Malik Neighbors, I don't think there's one in this draft. I don't think there's a number one in this. I don't think there's one to that level as well. Real quick, how happy are you now with Ryan Day? It seems like it's weird. I'm learning these things. Ohio State seems to be happier this year that you beat Michigan and didn't win the Natty than if the opposite was to happen. They did finally beat Michigan, even though Michigan's got their issues and all that. But how are fans now with Ryan Day? Won the Natty, finally beat Michigan. Clearly, to me, the only thing standing in their way now is Indiana, with the season they had as well, which none of us predicted.
Shout out to Indiana for showing the SEC that the Big Ten is for real. Other than that, that's all the praise you ever gonna hear out of me for Indiana. When it comes to the team up north, we could lose every game all year, every year, and beat them, and we happy. It's like that when it comes to the team up north. We don't say their names during game week. You can tune in to Cleveland sports. We X out the M. Restaurants X out the M. With red tape. If you got a net, I know classmates from high school, friends in college, co-workers now, or classwork when it's game week against the team up north. We take the M out of everything. Even if your school name start with an M, you take the M out.
But are you happier now with
we
Day
don't like them,
in
they don't like
general?
us.
Are you happier now with Day in general? I'm gonna give you a chance
Absolutely
now.
not.
What?
No, no, no. I don't care what the only players that are known for him to recruit since he's been here is Justin Fields, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and a couple defensive dudes and Caleb Downs. Outside of that, every other name that you have seen at Ohio State came from coaching staff or Urban Meyer. Because when Urban left, Ryan Day took over and he coached Ryan Day's team. Yes, the transfer portal is a thing, but you weren't getting these wide receivers with Ryan Day. That was because guess who came out? Anthony Gonzalez. Is Gonzalez? Is it Coach Gonzalez? Yeah, Anthony Gonzalez was the wide receivers coach. I feel like I'm messing that name up right now. But anyway, he was the reason for all those star receivers. He was the reason for the growth that you saw in your receivers. You don't see that style of recruiting from him. You might see him get a quarterback here or there, but look at all the other quarterbacks that we've lost.
His quarterbacks have
You
been good
have
back to
Kevin
back
St.
to
Clair,
back,
popular
though.
quarterback, about to transfer. Right, but the
If
dudes he's
he
recruiting keep leaving. You gotta They keep
if
leaving. A lot of his recruits left, even before transfer portal blew up. A lot of dudes left,
if Julian Sane goes
and
into
that's
the
that's for me. You
NFL,
can't coach the big game.
that's 3 in a row. He's put in the league. That's 3 in a row.
Lincoln Coholtz, Tevin St. Clair, years before he got into the championship game at Texas and got destroyed, and his career was ended at that point. Who else? The list goes on of quarterbacks, running backs, high recruits that come to Ohio State, don't get what they're promised, and they leave. Why is that? It's your head coach. He is the leader of the ship. He can't recruit. He can't win the big game, and he looked like he wear makeup when he on TV. No man's lips are that red and cheeks that shiny. He looked like Santa Claus. I just don't like the dude. He does to me. He doesn't fit the vibe or the culture that Ohio State has. You don't
But
win with
I'm
a dude
just,
like
I'm
that.
just, I think we've had this conversation before, but you can't argue the success. He's lost like 5
Yes, you
games
can.
and how many? He's won a
Yes, you
national
can.
championship. He was the number 1 seed this year, number 2 seed, I think, in the Big Ten. Lost the Big Ten title. Only probably had the best game against Indiana all year long. It's been
Do
successful.
you do do you
Are we
remember
arguing
the
that
two
he's been successful?
games? Do you remember the
You
two
gonna argue?
playoff games? Two playoff. Yep, I'm about to argue this. Do you remember the two playoff games? There was back-to-back years where we played Georgia and Justin Fields and Marvin Harrison was lighting up the season both years.
I remember. Yes, sir. I remember.
And
Okay.
Mar and he lost that game with play calling. And then the second one, they had the game won. And what does he do? A receiver that he normally did not have run across the middle inside 30 yards. He has him running across the middle in the red zone, gets knocked out the game. This is something you don't never do. I understand you got to change things up, but you also got the number one receiver in the country, and Marvin Harrison Jr. And you telling me you can't give him a go ball, you can't create anything else for this young man except run him across the middle, something you don't never do.
Real quick, last thing we're gonna spot, and it seems like it's a weird question to ask you, considering what I just asked you about there, what you just said, what you've been saying. But no NFL interest for Ryan Day. I think that's a little weird, considering how well he's done at Ohio State of all places. College football, I think, is getting much harder to do. No interest in him. Doesn't really seem to have any. Even his coaching cycle, the only one really college coach that came up was Marcus Freeman. Do you think he'll leave for the
Mhm.
NFL? I know you want him to leave, but I'm just asking, do you think there'll be offers?
I want him to go coach Michigan for all I care, but um, I don't think so because when I think back to it, besides Urban Meyer, who else really at Ohio State has gotten that type of love to go as especially as a head coach to leave Ohio State and go to the league as a coach. To me personally, I might be wrong on this, but I haven't seen it. I don't remember Jim Tressel getting that type of love.
Urban
I don't
Meyer,
remember any other
after
coach.
he
Luke
left
Fickle,
for a
he
couple
he did a
years,
great
I
job while he
think
was.
yeah, I know, right?
And then that's the and
I
that,
think
and
that
that's
could
the
be
other
part of
thing
it,
about college
honestly.
coaches.
I think that could be part of it.
I think that's the other
Yeah.
thing. The other thing for young coaches when it comes to college, it's young head coaches that get asked to be brought to the league outside of like Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. Most of the time, it's flash in the pan young coaches. From
All
what
right.
I've seen and what I can remember.
Uh, let's talk about you a little bit now, Evan. You're back in action. We talked about a pre-show. You've had some personal stuff going on, some issues that caused you to be away. You're back in action here. Um, what brought you back? I mean, what's the main thing? Is well, considering
What
everything
brought me back,
that
but
that that you told us pre-show. Yeah, go ahead.
what brought me back is the love of the process. Here at Driving to the Top Productions, they really gave me my opportunity to something that I really wanted to do, um, and I just love talking sports. I love having community. So to be a part of that group was really important to me. And if I knew because of the things that I had stepped away for, which was family health issues and some friends that had passed, um, if I was ever going to do this again, I wanted to do it where I wanted to finish what I started and do it where the place community love and support, and this was the perfect place to do it. You're muted.
I'm sorry. I'm muted. I should ask a question with the mic on, right? So, how are they with you doing this now, in terms of the support that you have from them in general, or whatever? I tell a lot of content creators, especially sometimes you got to do it in spite of. those things? I mean, are they full support of that, or is that something that you do too? Like the heck with everybody. You definitely
It is a heck with everybody attitude because when I first did my very first podcast, my very first interview, everybody was like, "You're just an arguer. You don't know the game. You don't know the facts." Not understanding that my father was a head coach while I was 4 all the way up to like the age 12, and I've been around the high school game. My grandfather played football at Jackson State. Um, my uncle plays semi-pro ball. I got a cousin named Curlin Blaze. Uh, Played left tackle and right tackle, and eventually guard for the Detroit Lions. Like I love the game. I've always been around it. I have a good knowledge of it. And eventually, I just was like, yeah, forget it, and jumped off the porch, as we say.
what is your process like in terms of getting a show ready, getting a podcast ready? What would you say? Like, how do you think it goes for you now? It's changed for me. It's definitely changed over the years.
Mhm.
How's it for you now, especially starting back up here?
So that's a great question, by the way. In the beginning, I got two phones and a tablet, and what I would do before is I would have all my notes and just go for it from there. And I always felt like I was scripted versus allowing my passion, allowing my thoughts to grow and show. So now, with that extra phone and that tablet, I have my phone to show me immediate stats, what things are happening now, live updates. While I have on my tablet, I have the stats and the things of the stuff that I know I want to talk about, so I can have those things go on it and share my opinion and leave myself the space to be open and allow my thought process and knowledge to really show.
You're very critical of traditional media. Um, do you have? I kind of ask the guys when they're on here. We're on YouTube, we're on network, etc. But do you have any designs on traditional media, considering how critical you've been as well? I kind of go back and forth on legacy media. Where are you? And maybe you yourself endeavoring in the legacy media or a different media endeavor.
I think that so my view is this: when it comes to traditional media, they they don't talk the love of the sport anymore. They talk about what feeds the views and what feeds the attention. So they prey on the CU aunties, they prey on the Shadorians that just like Shador and not the ones who really know the game and know what's going on and are paying attention to things. Or they poop on LeBron for his record in the finals, but don't talk about the teams that he got there and say, well, he can't be compared to Jordan, but yet Jordan didn't make it out the first round until he got to Scottie Pippen. We we watch traditional media tear down and create narratives and end legacies versus allowing true opinion of the game and true opinion of sport. And they create these narratives that ruin careers, ruin relationships, for the next view, for the next like, for the next opportunity. And I don't really like that when it comes to traditional media.
Anybody that you do like as well that's historically, I always say Chris Berman was one. I find myself doing that a lot. Where really inspired me. Bob Costas was a guy. Stuart
Hmm.
Scott was a guy. Anybody that you have liked or you do like in the media.
And traditional media like TV, stuff like that, outside of the gentleman that you named, the only other person for me was Stephen A. Smith, but I've kind of grown away from that a little bit as I've gotten older. I was a Rich Eisen fan, and then I grew away from that when I got older. Um, but now I I like more of local media than anything. I love looking up Kansas City, beat writers in Baltimore and Jersey or New England rather, beat writers across multiple sports because you to me it gives me more of a connected feel to the situation and the relationship of the player and the organization or player because they're so tied in and it's not just oh this is what we saw come across the timeline.
But is that something that you would like to venture into? Like, talk about that. Like, where you wanted to go here going forward, with yourself, with what you're doing as well. Where would you like this to go?
I want to see everybody win. But if I'm talking specifically about myself, I think about it sometimes and what I would like to be able to have a real connection with my fan base, to be more than just talking about the Browns or the Guardians, but to have real debate, real and do things within the community and you by creating the space with this platform. Um, but I would love to be able to sit down with some of the big dogs and have my own show. I think some people may know who I'm talking about when it comes to Kenny Beecham. I think that's for me is the most realistic for what I see myself right now. For those who don't know, Kenny Beecham started a channel called KOT4Q where he started with 2K because Kenny loves basketball. And he would do a lot of rebuilds and stuff around video games. But then he went to Kenny Talks. And from Kenny Talks, he went to NBC Sports. And from uh, NBC Sports, he's now doing Bleacher Report. He's doing a lot of other things, but he also allows to have an open relationship with his fans to a reasonable extent, and at the same time, everybody that he started with or the relationships that he built, they kind of were able to come along with him because they have multiple podcasts, they all have clothing lines and things like that that all give back to where it originally started. So I think that would be the most relatable thing for me.
Well, you talk about debate. A lot of people forget your guy in Cleveland there, Jay Crawford, was the original guy on First
Hmm.
Take before they had all those ladies and all
On
that other
cold
stuff.
pizza, yeah.
Yeah, and then he was the original guy. And I know, I absolutely think Michael Reg guy is fantastic in the Cleveland
Hmm.
area. He did the Orioles for a year. I thought he's very, very good as a broadcaster. Um,
Oh, you know what? And Jim Donovan, I always looked up to Jim Donovan. I got to meet him.
yes,
Unfortunately,
yeah,
he
yeah.
passed away to health issues, but Jim Donovan was always one of those guys. I would turn on the radio with my grandfather and my father and mute the TV and listen to Jim Donovan call the game and watch it on TV. So big shout out to Jim Donovan.
I always thought you would do best, like if you got Max, you would get rid of Rich Paul on Spotify, and then you and Max have a show every day. I really think that's the lane that you wanna be in, as far as that you have a real strong passion for the debate. I always call it the barbershop. You know how it was
Yes.
back in the day in the barbershop. You go in there, you got to make your point. You got to go in there and talk about, tell me why Pat Riley was this great coach, or why it was always a fight when you talked about Mike Tyson. Anytime you said anything against Mike Tyson, it was like, that's what I hear when I hear you think, is that a lane that you want to do? Because I think the debate format is coming back here. I think a lot of this other stuff they're trying isn't it's just not working.
I never looked at it like that, but absolutely because that's the other thing being with my father and my uncles was always at the barbershop. Even when my uncle, we stopped going to the barbershop, my uncle would cut the neighborhood. We'd all be outside talking sports or talking whatever. And that would be that's how I learned to articulate my thoughts when it came to what we do now. I would absolutely love that. I would just need somebody that could put up with me on a day-to-day basis so that it would work. But I would love
Well, a
to
lot
get
of
that
those
work.
relationships like go have went left. Like you saw Skip and Shannon kind of went left. I think Stephen A and Skip have kind of made up now. It looks like they were working together here as well. But yeah, they get real life cantankerous over a
Max
period of
Kellerman and
time.
Stephen A.
They never did like each other. They never did like each other. Stephen A. Kellerman is too cool for Stephen A. Seriously, he's not like Will Kane. He can kind of beat up because he's kind of a conservative. Kellerman is too cookout for him. You know what I mean when I say that? Like he's not going.
Yeah.
He can't look cool
Yes.
enough with Skip. Skip kind of says weird stuff, and he can kind of play off of that. So that's why he likes Skip. But Kellerman is too not going to go for that. He can't do that.
I know that they
That's
didn't
why he
like
don't
each
like.
other. I know that they didn't like each other and they had their differences, but if I'm being honest, that was the best first take had ever been. Because to me, at that point, in my opinion, Stephen A couldn't get away with all the stuff that he get away with, whether it was Skip or the crew that he has now. It's still a great show. I'm not pooping on them at all. But their debates to me really meant something because it wasn't just, oh, I said this and I'm gonna lay down, or you said that. Like, no, we're gonna really get into it and really talk about the question that's being asked. And I love that out of those two. And unfortunately, it couldn't work. You saw the writing on the wall very soon, very early in the process for those two, but I wish that was
No,
something that
it
could have
was
continued.
all. It was all personal, and it was all Stephen A. Didn't like him. Didn't took his shine away. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
was. And he kind of tries to talk around that and all that. But Max took his shine away. Max is a smart guy. Max is a liberal. Max is other thing. And Max he doesn't like. He didn't. It took his shine away. It took money away. Think that
Mm-hmm.
Max telling when they asked him about it, when Bill Simmons asked him about it, that's precisely what he said. Right? This you notice he didn't even get a new partner after that. Oh well, we're gonna round table. We're gonna do this and then, and you know. I don't think he get, and I think right or wrong, I don't think he gets the money he's getting now if Max is staying. It wouldn't happen.
True. And
He
I'm
knew
not
it,
a fan
and
of
so
I'm not a
that,
fan.
that's
I agree. I'm sorry. I was thinking about I'm not a fan of Molly Karam, but because
uh go ahead.
at least from the Twitter side of it, the social media side of it, she was getting more love than what he was, from what I saw. At least I'll put it that way,
Well, you
getting
know
paid what she was
why.
worth.
Well, you know why. That's what was the reason. You know, was
Hmm.
not, and I'm not. You know what the reason was? It wasn't. It never anything to do with sport. And not saying she's incapable or anything like that, but it's it was what it was. Men are watching Molly
Hmm.
Carum. That's and that's there. Um. So tell the people where we can find you going forward, besides driving to the top productions.
So you can find me on Twitter, you or X as they call it now. I'm just gonna call it Twitter because that's what his mama named him. Um, you can find me on Twitter at Brogdon Evan. That's my main page if that's where you want to find me the most. Um, you can also find me on my UFL football, UFL 23. That's where I'm going to be covering a good friend of mine, Tegan Jr. My father knew his father, so I know Ted a little bit. I like to call him my good
I know
friend.
exactly who it is. The punt returner at Ohio State,
Yeah, punt returner, wide
and the
receiver,
Dolphins.
quarterback, a little bit
I
of
know. Yeah.
everything. And he's now the coach of the new expansion team, the Columbus Aviators. So I'll be covering that there as well. And then also you can find me at Talking Sports by the Lake, at Talking by the Lake on X as well. Each one of these, my personal one, I pretty much talk about anything that you hear from me on open mic or here on this show, which I would love to be on again at some point, or to have you on with me at some point, um, or open mics. That's where most of that conversation will be. I try to keep the conversations particular to each account so that I'm not fumbling over responses and things like that. But those are the places that you can find me the most active in the social media world.
Right. Welcome him back. All right. So definitely go to Evan Brogdon's X page and go ahead and subscribe. Go over to For the Land. Definitely check out UFL football as well this summer with the guys. So Thank you, all of you, for watching the Ravori Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media platforms and check us out every morning at 6 a.m. RavoriSports.blogspot every morning. Definitely check it out. Thank you guys and enjoy the rest of your day.